Just 2 months before Election Day, the Department of Justice accused Russia of an elaborate, sophisticated propaganda campaign to sway voters. 2 Russian officials with state-controlled RT are charged as part of an alleged scheme to work with a Tennessee company to publish stories favorable to Russia, to splinter Americans and dampen support for Ukraine. Both officials remain at large overseas.
The American people were informed when a foreign power engages in political activities or seeks to influence public discourse.
The Department of Justice just unsealed indictments for 2 Russian nationals involved in a $10 million effort to influence American public opinion through a targeted propaganda effort. So if a lot of right-wing talking points seem to be favoring Russia, this is why. We've always known that Trump was favorable to Russia and to Putin. That is nothing new. He has invited Russians into the Oval Office when he was first inaugurated. He gave them state secrets. He had a secret meeting with Putin in Finland. And his overall rhetoric has always been pro-Putin and pro-Russia, even siding with Putin over the FBI at times. His closest associates, for example, Paul Manafort and Rudy Giuliani, have had known dealings with the Russian government. There was a whole special investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, in which Trump barely evaded accountability. And Republicans have repeatedly been the roadblock preventing Ukraine from receiving financial and military aid in support of their defense against the Russian invasion.
If we follow Chinese propaganda about the ongoing Ukraine war, we notice a certain pattern, which is that the political warfare themes, which, as colleagues have quite rightly said, are meant to pass through us, have in fact done so. First, Ukrainians are Nazis. A Russian theme picked up by China, echoed on the House floor. Second, it's all about NATO enlargement. A Russian theme picked up by China. Third, Ukraine is corrupt. A Russian theme picked up by China, echoed on the House floor, echoed in the Senate by Senator Vance. Fourth, that democracies can't do anything about Ukraine, that it's all pointless. A Russian theme echoed by Chinese propaganda, picked up in House discussions. Fifth, we should pay attention to the border and not do anything about Ukraine. A Russian theme picked up by China, echoed in both chambers. Sixth, the Biden bribe. A Russian theme picked up and echoed by China, discussed in this very chamber.
As European allies propose sending troops to fight Vladimir Putin, drawing NATO further into this conflict, yes, the Ukraine war threatens to become a broader regional conflict. What about the assault on traditional Christian communities? Just today, the Ukrainian parliament is considering enacting a law that would dispossess large numbers of Christian churches and Christian communities in the country of Ukraine. Now, they say it's because these churches are too close to Russia. That's what they say. And maybe some of the churches are too close to Russia, but you don't deprive an entire religious community of their religious freedom because some of its adherents don't agree with you about the relevant conflict of the day.
And speaking of Ukraine, the Russian propaganda efforts have specifically attempted to sway American public support away from Ukraine. Russia Today, or RT, is Russian state-controlled media, and 2 Russian nationals have been indicted for conspiring to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison, and conspiracy to launder money, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Neither of them have been apprehended by authorities.
We reached out to RT for comment, and the company responded in part with the following: ha, 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 ha.
I'm sure that was much funnier in the original Russian, but for us, it's not funny. This is deadly serious, and we are going to treat it accordingly.
But the story is bigger than 2 Russian operatives. It involves popular right-wing media figures that you've probably heard of. For example, Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin, to name a few. These commentators, along with 3 others, are the talent behind Tenant Media, which is based in Tennessee. The DOJ claims that the 2 Russian nationals deployed nearly $10 million to covertly finance and direct a Tennessee-based online content creation company, U.S. Company One. In turn, U.S. Company One published English-language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Since publicly launching in or about November 2023, U.S. Company One has posted nearly 2,000 videos that have garnered more than 6 million views on YouTube alone. The indictment also mentions that Founder 1 and Founder 2 worked to deceive the commentators and mask the true source of the company's funding, using a shell company and a donor who it turns out doesn't exist. Tenant Media was founded by Liam Donovan and his wife, Lauren Chen. Oh, and that whole stint where Tucker Carlson went to Russia and was so impressed with how cheap their groceries were, that video went viral here in the United States through the Tenant network, with its commentators sharing the video all over social media. One producer at Tenant pushed back against pushing the Carlson video, saying that it felt like overt shilling, but Founder 2, believed to be Chen, said to push it anyway. Some commentators have come out and made statements regarding the DOJ indictment. Benny Johnson and Tim Pool both referred to the DOJ leak in their original statements, but none of this was leaked. The DOJ unsealed the indictment. They both said that if the allegations proved to be true, they were victims. They were not complicit in any of it. They were tricked by Russian operatives. Still, they did do their best to sow discord amongst the American public while pushing obviously pro-Russian talking points. Within Tim Pool's lengthy statement, he said, "Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show, and the contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include discussing spirituality, dating, and video games." But he also has videos where he says things like this.
Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
Since making his initial statement about the indictments, he's added the Ukrainian flag beside his name on X, and he posted this. "Upon reflection, I now understand that Ukraine is our greatest ally. As the breadbasket of Europe and a peace-loving people, we cannot allow the fascist Russians to continue their crimes against humanity. We must redouble our efforts and provide an additional $200 billion at once." So he's obviously making a joke and attempting to convince people that he believes what he believes because he believes it, not because the Russians told him to believe it. So we covered a story here the other day where it was reported as a bombshell that Melania doesn't like her husband, and I mentioned that no, it wasn't really much of a bombshell at all. Everyone knows that she doesn't like him. Everyone has seen images and videos of her displaying obvious disdain for him. The most recent allegations were basically just hearsay, and we've had more damning evidence of her feelings toward Trump before. This story is also being reported as a bombshell, and this story actually is. This has been an ongoing investigation within the Department of Justice, and they finally released something to the public. But while this is a big story and it is a big deal, I wonder if it will soon fade from the headlines as soon as something else comes out to supplant it, which might be tomorrow, might even be later today. Maybe by the time you watch this, this will already be old news. But that's part of the struggle of living in today's world. With social media and the 24/7 news cycle and YouTube, news travels faster than ever, meaning it becomes stale faster than ever. You can watch all of the video essays and snarky TikToks and get all of the hot takes on a topic within a day or two, depending on how demanding the rest of your life is, and by that point, you've already emotionally moved on. But there's only so much information and emotion you can hold within your body physically at once. And in a story that's essentially about propaganda and the way bad actors can and do use the media to manipulate your emotions and beliefs, it's important to remember that media is just a means of communication. Your job isn't just to hear the things we say and take them, but you're supposed to actively listen and process your own thoughts and feelings toward the information we give you. In fact, I think TYT is lucky to have an audience that does that. It's just like if you have a shady friend give you some gossip and you know to be like, I'm not sure that's really what happened. You should be discerning when consuming online media, even this. I will tell you right now that my intentions for doing the work that I do are pure and positive. I'll even vouch for my colleagues here at TYT in that respect. But even then, you should still consider that we all have our own biases that we are constantly trying to navigate. We come from different walks of life. We've had different lived experiences, different levels of education, etc. Basically, we ourselves are prone to being influenced. All of that factors into the way we understand the information we're given and the way we present that information to you, our audience. That's one of the reasons why we have such a diverse pool of presenters here. And as a presenter, this story is concerning because we're only as good as the information we're given as news, as fact. Yes, we can dive deeply into the stories and gain and provide more context into the issues. And yes, we do our best to look at things through a critical lens and make sense of the stories before presenting them on our shows. It's a collaborative process too. We don't always agree with each other on everything. We have discussions over those disagreements, both behind the scenes and live on the air. But we always start from what we believe to be fact. Benny Johnson released a statement saying he was disturbed by the allegations of Russian backing, and he claimed that he was a victim in the scheme. He also threatened anyone who said he was anything but a victim with legal action. Now, I'm not saying anything one way or the other because I have no idea. Maybe he knew what was going on, maybe he didn't. But his hot takes on issues specifically in regards to Russia have been pro-Russia. Did he come up with those hot takes on his own, or were they fed to him? Were the facts he was given one-sided, or were they outright unfactual? Did he believe the things he was telling his millions of followers? And if he did, how did he get to the point of believing those things? How much can we chalk up to cognitive dissonance, and how much of that are we willing to tolerate from the people that we let influence us? Lots to think about with this one. In a perfect world, people like Benny Johnson would take a step back, get off of social media for a bit, and think about their chosen line of work, their integrity, their reputations, their influence. Maybe it will affect the way they go forward, maybe not. With Tim Pool, we're already seeing that he's not doing any of that. Maybe they really are just in it for the money. Let me tell you, Benny Johnson makes a lot more money than I do. But at least this is a conversation that they can maybe now have, even if it is just with themselves. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.